inside the bedrooms, okay? Because if you have bedrooms over there and bedrooms over there, right outside the hallway of each bedroom. Okay? You don't have to have one in the kitchen as long as you have one close, centrally located in the home, where, you know, if that smoke travels, it doesn't take much to set them off, right? So just make sure you have enough. You can have 18 of them. You don't have to have outside of every bedroom, one in the centrally located in the house, and you're good. What's great now is they sell them with 10-year batteries. I didn't know if you knew this, but when you buy them from Lowe's or Home Depot, the battery's good for 10 years. So when that thing starts chirping, you just throw it away and get a new one. Okay? So, super important to have your smoke detection device, your smoke alarm in your house. This way, you can get alerted. The best thing you can probably do if you have a fire and you can't put it out at that low extinguishers is get out. Call 911 and get out, or get out and call 911, however you want to do it. Now, it should take us, we have an engine up by the police department, and then we have the engines downtown. It should not take us longer than, and I know this is going to sound like a long time, it shouldn't take us longer than 10 minutes to get here. Usually about 7, but imagine this: at 2 o'clock in the morning, you call 911, the alarm goes off at the station, the firefighters get out of bed, they put their gear on before they get on the truck, then they start the truck, then they have to figure out where they're going, and all with, do you ever wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're like, so their heads are all foggy, now they figure out where they're going, they wake up, and then they go. So if you're waiting and you're like, where are they? Where are they? I promise they're coming. It's just all that has to take place from when you call 911. And usually people don't call 911 until the fire's been going for 10 minutes. So now you got the fire that's been going for 10 minutes, and then you call, and then they're coming within 7 to 10 minutes. So you're looking, it could be 17 minutes or longer. So it's not that we don't want to get here quickly. That's about the quickest we can get here, from the time you call to the time we arrive. Unless we're passing by, right? Now, in the daytime, probably a little quicker, right? Because they're already up. They're cleaning the trucks or whatever they're doing, or in training or what have you. They're already awake, so we take that part out of the picture. So I just wanted to let you know, both for medical and for fires, sometimes there's a little bit of a wait. And I want you to know we keep an eye on, we call them shoot times. And me and the fire chief, we run reports on that, and we keep a look on that, and we want to make sure they're out of the station quickly. So we check on that stuff for you. Okay, the other things is trip hazards in the home. If you have those loose rugs around the house, you don't want to, so any loose rugs or anything like that that you could trip over, just get rid of them. This way you don't have to worry about tripping over them. I know there's really pretty, my mom's 84 years old, just had a birthday November 10th, and she's got this big round carpet, and she trips over it, doesn't fall, but she trips over it every once in a while, like, Mom, we gotta get rid of this. Oh no, that's my carpet, I love that carpet, we gotta keep it there. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna paint the corners orange, or something like that, so you can see it and get a big chuckle out of it. But long story short, if you have trip hazards, especially movable carpets or things in your way, remove it, get them out of the way, because if you fall and you break a hip or something, you could be laying there for days looking at your cell phone, right? There it is, but you just can't get it. You can't get to it. We don't want that to happen. So I know folks in communities like my mom's, you have friends that check on each other, and that's a great thing to do. If you don't have one now, start that. Usually the newspapers were piling up at the front door, and we know, like, Alice hasn't come out to get her newspaper in days. And we go check on Alice, and Alice is on the ground, hopefully alive, and we call 911. Now we don't have that, right? People still get some newspapers, but a lot of the time, those newspapers aren't piling up. And if we don't see that person every day to wave to across the way or something like that, that's kind of like, well, that's strange, Tom hasn't come out in a few days. So if you check on each other, if you start a phone train, or however you want to do it, just to make sure everybody's okay. Oh, Tom's on vacation, he'll be back, he's with his kids. But you know that it's kind of strange, and that gives you an idea. But we want to prevent that emergency from happening in the first place. So move anything that you're going to trip over. Don't leave food on the stove, right? Make sure your fire alarm or your smoke alarm has good batteries. Like I said, if you can buy those 10-year smoke alarms, they're at Lowe's, they're at Home Depot, you put them up, you set them in, you forget them until they go off. Because you're cooking on the stove or there's a national fire. So the carbon monoxide detector, put that on the wall, and I would have both of those. They do have the combination, and the directions will show you to put those lower on the wall because of the carbon monoxide. Smoke is still going to rise. Smoke is still going to get to it, whether it's here or it's up here. Smoke, unfortunately, if there was a fire here, will fill this whole room. So it goes from floor to ceiling, okay? But very important to be in front of this stuff, right? All right, so any questions? I want to give you time to ask me questions so I can answer questions on something maybe I didn't cover that you're curious about. I've got to think about getting in. How do we get into your home if there's a fire or a medical emergency and the door's locked? Well, we have the universal key. You know what that is, right? we have the universal key. We have Max. We're coming in. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. We're going to break your door. We're going to come in, and hopefully that's okay with you. You know, it's kind of a trade-off, right? We're going to break your door, but we're going to get you out and get you to the hospital if needed. So that's how we get in. And we'll bang if people go, yeah, he or she's in there. We know they're in there. We're coming in. Okay. And if you happen to be on vacation or something, sorry about that. But if your friends are telling us you're in there, you know, or we're banging on doors and windows, and we can hopefully hear you, or you have a medical alarm that goes off, we're coming in. Okay, and that's for your safety. Because if we don't come in and you are in there, then that's not a good thing, right? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to say, I'm glad to see we have a lot of questions. I have a fire extinguisher in my kitchen that I bought with the house.
Yes.
It's 20 years old.
Yes.
The little dial on it says it's still green, but how do we check them?
So 20 years old is pretty old. Fire extinguisher. I recommend you get rid of your fire extinguisher at 12. Okay, 12 is about as long as I would keep the fire extinguisher. So you should go to Lowe's and Home Depot, buy yourself a fire extinguisher, or call the local fire safety company, which I think there actually is one called Haines City Fire.
Okay.
Not fire department, but they do the fire extinguisher tagging, and get yourself a fire extinguisher and give them your old fire extinguisher. I don't know if they take it or not. The fire department does not take old fire extinguishers. If they are down all the way past the green to where they're empty, you can throw it in the garbage, or you can bring it to, what I would do is bring it, when the county collects batteries or old paint cans or something like that. If they do that here, take it there.
Oh, okay. Didn't even think about disposal.
I just recently had a fire in my house, August 2nd, kitchen fire. And same thing, when I bought my house, there was a fire extinguisher already there. So I picked it up to use it, and it was not just crumbled. I looked at it, it was from 2006, which prompted me to buy 2 new ones. So, yeah, definitely check the date.
A kitty fire extinguisher with a plastic top?
Was it a
A kitty,
Kiddie.
You know what type it was?
I didn't know.
Did it have a plastic handle?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a recall on anything with plastic handles because of that reason. So if you have a kidda or a kitty fire extinguisher
You know what
at
I
your
think it
house,
was? I actually think it was.
those are the ones most bought because they're cheaper, first order too. Go to kidda.com, KIDDIE.com. You can put the serial number of that fire extinguisher in their website. They will give you a brand new fire extinguisher for free and send you a box to return the old one.
Cool.
Kidda, KIDDIE. And that's why exactly what this young lady has said is
Wow.
when we want to use them. So they have a recall on anything plastic. Great question, yes, ma'am.
What do you think of those things that repair hero, where it's in an envelope type bag kind of thing that you hang up and you pull it down and throw it over a fire?
Oh, the blanket? Yeah, those are great too, because you know what you don't want to do with the grease on the stove, right? Is throw water in it, right? Because it's just going to send it all over the place and burn your kitchen down. Is that what you did?
Well, no, I saw some information about making a candle with cinnamon and whole cloves by taking candles and melting. So, this is kind of funny, but it's not funny. So I put a couple of my white little Buddha candles on the stove, and I was turned up on high, and I was melting it, and I was going to go to the bathroom and come back. Well, unfortunately, because I have such a habit of going straight to my sunroom, that's what I did. And I didn't think, when I heard the noise, the beep, 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 I'm thinking it's one of the UPS or Federal Express backing up. So I unfortunately ignored it for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden, I got up and looked out the windows, I didn't see any of the trucks. So I thought, I immediately came to my mind, oh my gosh, my candles. And yes, I wanted to ask you, I did throw water on it, but it was a candle, so it wasn't grease. However, does candles have some kind of oil in them that maybe is the reason why?
No, it's wax.
Oh, yeah, it's wax.
Unless they come from somewhere where they infuse it with something else, but mostly it's wax. Some of them can have paraffin in them, which would cause more of a fire. Yeah. So,
would a blanket have
so
taken care
getting
of
back
that?
to your question, the little fire blankets,
Right.
or if you have a wet towel and you throw it over there, because what causes fire is heat, oxygen, and fuel. So you get rid of that by smothering the fire. Get rid of the oxygen, and basically that's
Even though
what
it's
you're doing.
wet, it's okay.
Yes, because you're putting it over it, and it's the wetness. Reason why water is still the best way to put out fire. Okay, water is great, unless it's a grease fire, or those might have paraffin in it. If they went up, then they were actually,
Yes, it
they
did.
definitely had something else. in
My
them.
microwave in front of it was just all melted.
Yeah. Yeah, so, a fire extinguisher or a blanket, or this kitchen hero thing, I don't know the type of it, but any of those fire blankets, it's for that reason, especially if they're small and they say for the kitchen, is so you can throw it over that pan. A lot of people want to take that pan and throw it in the sink and turn it. No, you want to leave it where it's at, either hightail it out of there, use a fire extinguisher, or get it covered up. And I say with a wet towel, right, and you kind of drape it over it, because if it's not wet, it could just burn through that. But worst comes to worst, if you can't get water on it, putting anything over it is better than nothing. Okay? If you can't take the time to get it wet, or it's right next to the stove or something, take that dry towel, hopefully big enough, and just put it over there. We got to kill that oxygen. Okay? The water cools it and for the oxygen. Okay? But great questions. Yes, ma'am.
I inadvertently called 911. I was having trouble with my cell phone, and they suggested I hold the buttons in on both sides, and next thing you know, I had 911 on the phone. I apologize, but is there some way we can
Cancel us?
consider?
So we get calls probably daily for something like that, and especially now with the new phones that detect car crashes.
Oh.
So somebody has that detection on their phone, and it's sitting on their seat, and it goes flying because they brake hard. We get those about once or twice a day, and we go out. There's nobody here. We don't see any cars, and we just kind of cancel off after we've done a good look around. But that happens, and there's really no way. You're going to get a police officer, you're going to get a fire truck, you're going to get an ambulance, and you have to understand why. We don't know. So we're coming to make sure. And I think it's best that way. Now sometimes we do get people call back and say, I'm sorry, it was fine, it was an accident, and and then the battalion chief, who's in charge of the shift, may say, okay, go ahead, everybody who's going cancel, I'll go in and check, or just send one engine in, not emergency, or Haines City Police said they're going to go in and check, but we want to check. You know, so somebody's going to go in for the report, so to speak. You know, this was an inadvertent activation. Good question.
One other thing I wanted to mention, Delina was talking about her incident, and the neighbor who came over to help, because he had a fire extinguisher, but he landed in the hospital for breathing the fumes.
He helped me open up all the windows and everything.
Yeah.
So we'd rather you get out
I ran across
and
the
let
street and
us,
said,
let
do you
us
have
come.
one?
We're going to be in masks. We're going to have fire equipment on. Let us open the windows. Let us run the
Well,
fan.
if I had
Okay.
told you guys, my house would have been gone.
Yeah.
I took the best.
So that smoke, remember, the smoke is what kills you. The smoke is what's
Yep.
going to make you sick. The smoke is what's going to send you to the hospital. And it's
Probably should have gone.
it's too easy to, you know, not think about it and get ourselves in harm's way. But if you take a second and just, you know, call us, we'll come out. Look, there's that little window. So what do you do while you're waiting? You're watching your house burn, right?
Yeah,
And-
I didn't
and
want to go that route.
unfortunately, that's part of it. But preventing the fire in the first place, preventing the fall, preventing illness if you can, that's the way to go. Prevention. Prevention is the best way.
The other incident we had in here was a family got, I don't know if it was a new grill or was it a new tank they put on their grill, and that it was under their carport, and they lit it, and there was a leak, and it blew. And the entire house is gone. I mean, they had to replace the entire house.
Yeah.
I wasn't here at the time. Does anybody else know exactly what happened? I don't know.
Yeah, when he attached the new tank, he didn't tighten it all the way.
Ah.
So there was a leak.
That's the only time we've had fires in here that I know of, but it's scary.
That's what I heard. I'm
These
not.
things happen, and I'll tell you what, I always knew I was in a recession-proof business. Right? I always knew being a paramedic, being a firefighter, I'd never get laid off, right? I'd always be at work, because this stuff just happens. You don't expect it, you don't want it to, but it happens. Yes, ma'am.
We were here for bingo last night. Somebody put their cigarette in one of these and put it in a garbage, in a trash drum.
Oh,
Oh, gosh.
Somebody smoked it and went in there and put it out.
and that's a no smoking area.
to tell the community that
Yeah.
Not smoking here, they're smoking in the
Yeah.
Well, we need to do these, let's go over this real quick.
Okay, nice to know we know about it.
Any other questions while those are getting handed out? Because I want to just go over these, yes.
I was just going to say, you're talking about response time, which I think is really great. Do you find that daytime traffic is becoming a hindrance?
So traffic has just always been a hindrance, no matter what time of day it is. And most people do yield to the right of way. So it's sometimes they don't, or they're not sure what to do, or they get scared. But it really doesn't slow us down all that much.
Okay.
And even if,
Oh, thank you, honey.
even if the road is full, we call it parting the Red Sea, so to speak. People start pulling over. So luckily, over the almost 40 years I've been in this business, unless there's a train, if there's a train, then we let dispatch know there's a train, you know, we're delayed for a train or something like that. But, you know, the more cars that get on the road, you know, but I think it's pretty insignificant, you know, unless it's gridlocked to the point where we can't get through, and I've never really had that. So, ma'am, do you have a question in the back? Oh, thought you raised your hand. Okay, anybody else? You can ask questions after we go over this too. All right, let's look at the prevention, the home safety checklist. Are there smokers in your home? Do they smoke outside? So, we don't want to be smoking when we're drowsy or in our bed. We don't want to be flicking or sending our cigarettes anywhere in our own dry mulch or something like that. So that's really important. Ashtrays need to be good good ashtrays you see in commercial structures, maybe even out here, there's those little holes. And you put your cigarette in there, it drops to the bottom, there's usually sand at the bottom, and it can smolder all at once down there, okay? Because we're kind of keeping the oxygen, that little hole doesn't let a whole lot of oxygen in there, and you have the sand down there, and usually.
If they're not emptied regularly though, and you just have to pile them up and pile them up, will that cause a fire?
It could, but because of the way it's designed,
Right.
they keep oxygen from going down in there, so they're designed not to light on fire.
They
So
will-
it'd be very rare that that would, because of the way they're made.
Good to know,
Yes, they're made to do that. I would empty them just
of course.
because, space heaters, at least 3 feet away from things that can burn. So if you got a cat or a dog, don't let them lay 3 feet away from the heater. So, you don't want to have a magazine rack or furniture within 3 feet, because think about that. It heats up, and everything has what's called an ignition temperature. Even if it says it's fireproof or what have you, everything does burn eventually. So if you have that constant heat on there,
Would you go around
it
the
will
kitchen and shut the door?
So there's some other
Go around the
information
kitchen and shut the door.
too about wood
Go that way,
stoves,
to the kitchen.
fireplaces, and things like that. Electrical cords. So if you have an appliance where you run a cord or an extension cord and you put a carpet over it, and you're just over the years, right? You're not really seeing it, but over the years, that wire is going to get frayed under there, and unfortunately, sometimes that'll cause a fire. So you want to make sure if you have a wired appliance and you put electrical tape over it, that's probably time to get a new one, or have somebody fix it by putting an entirely new wire on there. That's the ultimate thing to do. But if you have to repair it due to something causing damage on a regular basis, then that's probably time to replace that.
When you're talking about an appliance, I mean like a microwave,
Toaster,
an extension cord?
so toaster,
Something
coffee
small.
pot,
Okay, something small.
hair dryer,
Okay.
something
Because if
like
you're
that.
doing something big, that could definitely
Anything,
cause
I don't like extension cords anyway.
Yeah.
I'm your fire marshal too. I'm not, but you're allowed to burn your house down. You are allowed to burn your own house. You're just not supposed to burn anybody else's. So if you want to use an extension cord, I recommend you use a bigger extension cord.
Yeah.
Not those little brown ones or white ones, those cheap ones.
The orange or yellow.
Yeah, a heavy duty orange one, and you're not really supposed to connect a toaster and a microwave and a coffee pot all on that one circuit, because those draw a lot of power, and that's what will cause those lines to get hot and possibly catch on fire. So, try to plug everything directly into an outlet. That's really the best way to do it.
Okay. Unfortunately, some of our homes here don't have a whole lot of outlets, so they do use those strips.
Power tap, home power tap, yes.
And you can see, I clean houses in here, so I see a lot of different people and how they'll have several strips, just everything just plugged in everywhere.
Right.
Is that?
So, you can use, I'd rather you use a power tap, one of those, instead of actually an extension cord, and they do make those with really
They're
long
doing
wires.
one of those white or brown
But
ones and attach that thing to it and then.
Well, we're talking about those strips that have like 6 plugs in it, or you can
Yes,
buy them.
yes.
They'll come in a square, and you can plug stuff into it. They're made for that. They have a little, button, some of them have a button out
Yes.
top. They're made for that, but you're not supposed to daisy chain those or plug one into another,
I've seen
into
that.
another, and put a coffee pot in the microwave, in the refrigerator. It draws too much. They're not made for that. They're made for your computer, your monitor, something else temporarily, something like that. But they're not made for all those appliances. They will overheat. Think of a toaster, drawing all that. You know why it toasts your bread, right? Those electrons go really slow and causes those springs to heat up. So that draws a lot of current. So you don't want to do that. So check your electrical cords. Anything damaged, get rid of it, buy a new one, or have it repaired by a professional.
What if you coil them up because they're so long and they don't want a bunch of spaghetti everywhere? Is it okay to coil them up loosely?
Yeah, it's okay to do that as long as you leave a nice big circle and you're not putting them together and tying them and making them really small, sticking them in a corner somewhere. You know, as long as you got a big enough area to where they can breathe, so to speak. Okay? All right. So this talks about running them under doorways and running them to where you're going to walk. If a door is opening and closing on an electrical cord constantly, it's eventually going to break through. You can see it starts with a dent, and then what happens is eventually the outside cover breaks through it, and then eventually you can have an electrical fire. So make sure you plan for that. Get rid of any cords that are in a place where it can cause damage, like under a doorway. The other thing is about that stovetop fire. We talked about that. And if food catches fire, slide the lid over it. You just put the lid to it over it. As long as it's not this huge fire where you're going to get burned doing that. But if it just starts off and the lid's right there, just put the lid on it. If you don't have the lid, put that towel over it. Okay? You can do that. When in doubt, it says call the fire department. But you know, if it's at the early stage of a fire, you should be able to just cover it and take care of it. Okay? Hopefully you don't, it doesn't get past there and start burning into your cabinets and stuff like that. Do you stay in the kitchen when you cook? Remember we talked about those older phones, kind of help from leaving now with the cell phones. We leave, and that's really what causes those problems. Do you allow food to cook in a microwave to cool before eating? So this is talking about a couple of things. If you, and I just want to say this, if you put metal in the microwave, right, you know what happens there.
Yeah.
If you put nothing in the microwave, there's the dish in there, it gets really, 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 really hot. If you leave something empty in there, like a bowl or something in there with little food, and you walk away and you over push that button, like you meant to push 1 minute and you wind up pushing 10 minutes, that can cause a problem. So microwaves can overheat. They're fairly safe, but that could cause a problem. And then this one's kind of difficult. I don't think you're going to get up every morning and be like, are my clothes too tight in case there's a fire? Do you wear tight fitting clothes or short sleeves when you cook? Well, if you're splattering grease everywhere, you're wearing short sleeves and shorts, I mean, you might get burned. So that's what that's about. It's just letting you know, just be careful there. And if you do catch fire, remember from our childhood days, what do you do?
Drop it
I'm
and
on fire. What do you do?
Drop it.
Stop, drop, and roll. And that really does put the fire out. Or if there's somebody else there, grab a blanket, regular old blanket, put it over the person, and start patting down. And of course, if you have a hose or something like that, spray the person. But the best thing to do is don't catch on fire. Okay? So if you can prevent that from happening, that would be great. But if you run, you're getting more air and more oxygen, so that's not good. And then how do you treat a burn? Back in the old days, it was put butter on it, put burn cream on it. What we really like you to do is put the fire out. Okay, if there's anything still burning, put it out. Call us. We actually, it's a shame. Burns do kind of burn, right? But the doctors want us to put dry, clean dressings on it if you're going to the hospital. So we don't put any ointment. They find, medical scientists found that if you're going to the hospital and it's a bigger burn than just a sunburn or a small burn where you can put, Noxine on or something like that, they want us to leave it alone because it's easier for them to treat on the other side. If we used to use burn dressings and things like that, and it used to cool it, but the ointment would get stuck into the burn, and it was harder for them to debride it at the hospital. So we just put dry, sterile burn dressings on it now, and we take you in, and for pain, we'll give you some medication, and we'll watch you. And if you don't want the medication, you just say, I don't want it. But that's what the doctors want us to do. The medical directors would like us to do that. Now, if you get a sunburn, which is basically a first-degree burn, you can use over-the-counter stuff, right? And that'll kind of keep that from burning. And there's a first-degree burn, which is kind of like a sunburn. A second degree, where you get that blister. And then the third degree, which is, if unfortunately you wind up in a big fire like that, third-degree burns actually are full thickness burns, and you don't feel anything except for on the outside of it because it actually burns your nerves. We don't want you to get there. You're probably going to have first or second degree burns. The second degree is the one that you get the blister from. They actually say don't pop those blisters because your body's healing under there, right? And it gets a fluid and things like that builds up under there because your body's doing what it's supposed to do. It's killing the infection and stuff like that. So, but always see your doctor, right? Always see your doctor. Go to urgent care, go to the hospital, see your doctor. Other than a sunburn, unless you get it from head to toe, it's causing you breathing problems, chest pain. Something is off. Always see your doctor about that stuff, okay? And then on the back, it talks a little bit about that slipping. And I told you to get rid of, anything you can trip over. This is talking about make sure your shoes, I haven't had a heel break on a shoe in a long time because, I don't wear the heels, but if you have high heel shoes or something like that, make sure they're not going to break. And a lot of times you ladies don't realize that until it breaks, right? You're walking and all of a sudden your heel breaks, right? Just make sure that if you wear shoes with heels or you wear even slippers, make sure they got a good grip on the bottom so you don't, And, but, bathtubs, right? Our bathtubs and showers, we have to be careful in there because it's very easy to slip, especially if you're going to a loved one's house or something, using their shower or bathtub that you're not used to. And, it's slippery, and they don't have that grip mat in there that you normally have. So, not just in your home, if you're going places, just make sure you're really careful. And this last thing talks about medications. We love it when we arrive if you have a medical problem and you have a list of your medications, your current medications, or you have your basket with all your medications. We need to write all that down for the emergency room. So if you can have that ready for us, some things that are called the vial of life, where you put a dot on the refrigerator where you say, hey, there's a vial of life in there. The least thing that we look at is hurting you, even if you take something strange. Okay, but best for us to have that list on the medical side. So we talked a little bit about fire safety. We talked a little bit about medical safety. We talked about our fire department responding to you and what may cause some of those delays during the day or at night. We talked about having a good fire extinguisher. And Lowe's and Home Depot, they sell them all day long. If you want to get two,
I did.
Get two. If you have an upstairs and a downstairs, definitely one downstairs, one upstairs. If you have a huge room like this, one on this side, one on that side.
The second one I put in my shed outside.
That's great.
It's hot. It's
That's
okay to
great.
be in the heat.
Yep. They can handle up to umpteen degrees. One in the garage, one, somewhere in the house is good too.
And 12 years, you say, is the...
12 years. They have the ones that are refillable in their commercial grade, which 12 years
Like
they're
that's,
supposed to
that
be.
size?
Yes, that's a commercial
I got
size
this.
fire extinguisher. This is, for those who can't see it, this is what we call a 5-pound fire extinguisher. Even though it weighs more than 5 pounds in the industry, this is called a 5-pound extinguisher. So it's a little heavier, and if you don't know how to use this, actually your little tab is missing here. Usually there'll be a plastic tab on here that you'll break. And it's not very hard to break, but you would pull it off. So it's pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. Pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. So it's called the pass system. So pull, aim, squeeze, and you sweep from side to side. Okay, while you have an exit behind you. You don't ever want to put yourself between the fire and no exit. Because if this thing runs out and the fire gets too big, you can't run through it to get out. So if that's my only exit and this is the fire, I'm going to get here so that I can put it out. These shoot about 6 to 8 feet, so you don't have to get right up on the fire, but while you're putting it out, you kind of want to cover it. And there's a chemical in here that'll cover the fire, and this is good for any fire. There's a picture on the front here, and it says ABC, which means wood and paper, like fuels, like gas and grease, and then electrical. So this is the universal fire extinguisher is an ABC extinguisher, and that's why they have it in here, because you can use this on any fire. Now, if you have a kitchen in here, and you have a commercial kitchen hood, There's also one called the Class K fire extinguisher, and that's just used for kitchens fires, and it's got a potassium acetate base, and it's a liquid, but it actually, what it does to the grease is it solidifies it and holds it right in place. So it's not a water extinguisher, but it has a fluid in it, but it's not water. And but that's usually a lot of times in a commercial kitchen.
What did you call it?
A Class K extinguisher.
Class K?
K.
Because we do have a large kitchen.
K for kitchen.
Ah.
K. Yeah. So if it's a commercial kitchen, you should have one of those back there. Okay. I hope I answered a lot of your questions. If you have any more, I'm going to be here saying goodbye to everybody. But don't forget to call us if you need us. We are always out there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, since 1922. It's the DC Fire Department was born in 1922. So stop by anytime and say hi. And if you need anything, please call us. All right? Be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.